guys, so today I have the second part of the White Queen tutorial, which is inspired by the frozen in time effect from the second film, which they do show a little bit in the trailer of if you haven't seen the movie yet. So I started out by pulling my hair back a little bit more, and now I'm going to take all the eye makeup off of my left eye just using some oil-free makeup remover on a cotton pad. But if you are doing this look just from scratch, I would recommend outlining everything that you want to fill in with red first, that way you don't have to worry about taking off any extra makeup or wasting any product. Then for my lenses, I use the BioTrue lens solution to both clean and store them. And then to put in the scleras, I balance them on my first 3 fingers. I lift up my top lid just a little bit so I can slide the lens up in there. And then once it's about halfway in, I'll come down and pull my lower lash line down just a little bit so it can kind of pop into place. And then I just kind of close my eye and just let it settle in, and then we're good to go. So now I'm going in with a red lip liner. You can also use a white or a black, whichever you prefer or whatever you have. And I'm just going to start outlining all of the areas where I want the frozen in time effect to be. I didn't really have a plan going into this, so this is just a really rough outline so that I kind of have a bit of a guide moving forward. You'll see that the shapes get modified quite a bit, so don't worry if you feel like you don't have everything perfect this first go around. I'm creating pretty jagged lines all around, making sure that nothing is really even. It kind of is like if I were to be doing some torn skin, it's kind of that same effect. And you can do as much or as little of this effect as you want to. Next, I'm going in with a red body paint to fill in all of the areas that we just outlined, and I'm using kind of a sparse face brush to do this so we can kind of start getting a little bit of texture going. Again, this does not need to look perfect. As you're going to see in a minute, I should have taken off both my lipstick and my left eyebrow so that I could get better coverage with the red body paint. But in the end, I decided to use a Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the shade Redrum because that has really super opaque coverage, and I knew that it would cover. So here you can see that I put it over my lips, and I'm also going to put it over my brow. So once I have my basic shapes filled in, I'm going in with a black body paint on a fine detail brush and just defining all of the outlines, again making them kind of torn and jagged looking. It was a little tricky to go over the lace and the pearls of the choker, but it just takes a little extra finessing, and in the end I think it turned out pretty good. As you're going around and outlining, again, you can modify your shapes a bit if you think they need to be changed at all. And I also decided to add a few shapes on my cheek and my forehead, as well as on my right brow. And here you can see I'm just going over that left brow using the Jeffree Star Redrum. I am going to blend that out a little bit into the rest of the red body paint, and then Jeffree's liquid lipsticks are safe for eye use, so you can use them around the eyes. So I'm applying that to the lid as well as underneath the eyes, and a little bit on the waterline as well, and again just blending it out. Then I've switched to a smaller brush to fill in the smaller shapes around the face. I'm now switching to a small separated fan brush with some white body paint, and I'm just going to lightly swipe that over kind of random areas of the face in different directions, again to start creating some texture and highlight. And then I'm also turning my brush sideways to get a bit of a different effect. And then I'm also going to extend a few lines outside of the outline as well. A lot of this look is going to be based on your preference and what you want the final result to look like, but there's going to be a lot of layering with different colors and textures. But one thing that I would recommend is to kind of start out smaller so you don't go overboard with different colors and different textures, because there is a point where it can kind of just start getting all muddy and kind of like, what the heck is even going on here? Which is totally okay if it happens. It happened to me several times, but you kind of just have to roll with the punches. And a lot of the times with looks like these, kind of more painty, artsy kind of looks, it's going to look like a mess until you're near the end. So keep that in mind as well. And if you really don't like how it's looking, you can always just wipe it away and start again. It's just makeup. What I'm doing now is using that same brush that we used to first apply the red, and I'm applying an orange body paint kind of sporadically all over. I was feeling like it was getting a little bit too pinky and cool tone looking, so I wanted to add a bit of the warmth back in. And you may notice that the smaller shapes ended up looking more pinky. and that's because I forgot to add the orange. So yeah. And now I'm going back in with the black body paint on the fine detail brush to start adding in some kind of crystal rock formations randomly around the mouth and also on the chest and shoulders. For these, I'm doing quick zigzag lines kind of in varying lengths. And in certain areas, I'm adding multiple layers, so there will be one piece in front of the other. And then some I'm also kind of curving a bit, so they're not just in straight lines. Then I'm adding some thin black lines down the length of each of those formations, and then I'm also going to use this black to kind of do some sharp contouring around the face. Now I'm going in with a black eyeshadow to start adding some shading to those rock formations. I'm then using a smaller eyeshadow brush to add some more precise shading behind each of the formations to add some separation between each of the layers, and so that they appear to be a little bit more dimensional and not just sitting flat on the skin. Now I'm going in with the white body paint to start adding some highlights, and I'm starting at the peaks of each of those little zigzags and then blending it down. I'm trying to keep the brightest part of the white at the very tips of those V's. I'm also adding in some white lines kind of in between those black lines that we created earlier. As you can see, I'm just using my fingers to kind of tap out the white to tone it down a little bit where I want to blend it out. And then I'm also adding some more white lines kind of past each of those formations, so it's not just a sharp cutoff. I'm now going around and just adding some more shading throughout the design, and then I'm going in with a dark brown shadow to add some shading along the outside of our outlines. And we want to do this shading along the outside so that the design appears to be on top of our skin rather than underneath our skin. And we want to create the darkest part of the shadow right along that line and then blend it out. And you don't need to worry about having the shadow being totally even, going all the way around your lines, because the differing darknesses and thicknesses of the shadow will help add more varying dimension to the final look. Then just to add a little bit more texture, I'm going back in with the black body paint and just creating some clusters of dots kind of randomly all over, and then tapping them out to blend them out and kind of spread out the color a little bit. I'm doing the same thing with little lines as well. And then for those few white lines that I did extend out past the outline, I'm taking the black paint and just going in between each of those white lines to help define and separate them. I'm then going in with Jeffree Star's liquid lipstick in the shade Nicole, which is a very orange toned red, and I'm using this as sort of a highlight over the entire design to kind of help break up the rest of the colors. So I'm just applying that to the areas that I feel need it, and then I'm just using my finger to tap and blend that out. I'm also lining this along where we applied those black and white lines on the crystal formations, and then I'm just adding some more of that dotting texture using the black. And then to finish this part up, we're just going around our outline again with the black body paint to really darken and define it. I used all those same techniques on my left arm and hand, and then that is it. The process for this one was a bit of a hot mess, I will say, but in the end I think it all came together, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you missed the first part to this look, I will have it linked below as well as up in the cards, so feel free to check that one out as well. And if you happen to recreate any of these Wonderland looks, feel free to tag me on Instagram at CourtneyLittleMUA. I would love to see them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.